The Unfiltered Athlete is back with another episode, and this week it's the turn of swimmer Marina Spadoni. Marina is now competing for El Salvador and chasing her dream of competing at the Olympic Games in LA in 2028. We delve into her journey so far that certainly had a few interesting turns along the way. So before you enjoy this conversation as much as I did, please don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. It means the world to have your support. Right, okay, back with episode 15 of The Unfiltered Athlete. I am here with Marina Spadoni. You're based in the US.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about this before we start. What is technically your nationality? I feel there's a few mixes in there. Let's get that on the table first.
Where are you from?
Yeah.
So I was born in the US,
Yeah.
and then my dad's Italian and my mom is Salvadoran. So a nice spicy
mix.
Yeah.
Nice one. So, and you're a swimmer. And this is the first time we've ever properly spoke and probably heard each other's voice and seen each other face to face, as it were.
Yeah.
But we've actually sort of been friends, as it were, on Instagram for a few years now. I can't even remember how it even came about, actually.
Just scroll back and look.
It might be a long scroll.
Yeah, I had to have been like, I was doing CrossFit at the time, and I think that's how you came across my page. So it had to be in my time where I was like transitioning from retirement into the sport again. So maybe 2021, 2020.
Ooh, yeah.
So like quite a long time ago.
I feel like it might have been COVID times, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
Could have been. So, right. So you're a swimmer.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously I've huge interest in your story, having been a swimmer myself. So before we get into the swimming career, what I want you to do is I want you to sort of tell everyone about yourself, about your upbringing, and what sports you did growing up, if any, and why you ended up going into swimming.
Yeah. So I grew up in Southern California, which is actually back where I am now. I'm in LA area. And I was a very artsy child. I wasn't a really big sport gal. But I was a figure skater and I did ballet and dance and things like that when I was younger, and I loved it. Like figure skating was like I loved like watching the Winter Olympics as a kid growing up. And I remember like my parents talking about financial struggles, and they're like, my mom like coming up to me once as like a young child being like, do you actually like figure skating? Because it's expensive. And if you don't actually like it, you should quit. Which is like so like I look back, I was like, that was horrible parenting. No, but like I was like, how could you think that I don't like it? Because my whole room was decorated in figure skating, Michelle Kwan posters and things like that. But then like as a young child, I was like, oh my God, I'm a burden to my parents. And I was like, yeah, you're right, I'll quit. So I quit ice skating. And living in Southern California, my parents wanted me to be water safe. So they put me in like swim lessons kind of simultaneously at the same time that this was happening. And I remember the swim coach came up to me while I was doing some swim lessons, and they were like, oh, you're pretty good. Do you want to join the swim team? And in my head, I was like, no, I hate this. I hate being wet. I don't like being in a swimsuit. And then me being me, I said yes. People pleaser at the age of 13. So I think I was 10 actually at that time. So I was doing both sports. But yeah, I joined the swim team and then never quit. And I remember the day that the coach asked me to join the swim team, they were doing like a fun practice. I was watching the team. They were doing like, they had the big stability balls and they were like trying to balance on them and they were playing like water polo. I was like, you know what? Can't be that bad.
Let's give it a go.
It's never like that. But yeah, I joined, ended up falling in love with it after a little bit of time. And yeah, never really looked back from that point. But just figure skating and swimming is what I did. I would have loved to play soccer. I remember begging my parents to let me play soccer, but I have a hyper protective mother and father. So they were like, that's way too dangerous. So swimming it was.
Are you looking forward to the World Cup coming to the US later this year?
Yeah, that'll be super exciting. El Salvador doesn't have a team in it again, so that's a bummer. But Italy and the US, that'll be fun to cheer for
You
them.
have you managed to get tickets? It's been quite difficult to get tickets. I heard. Yeah.
I'll be watching on TV. But my sister does live in Dallas, so they were talking about Airbnb out their house, and because they think it's going to be a bit crazy there. But
Yeah. Yeah.
lots of people are also boycotting the World Cup too, so it's a big
Yeah. Well,
one. See
I
how
think
it.
well, with everything that's going on now, I think there'll be a couple of teams that won't be going. So there
Yeah.
might be a few other teams getting added in at the last minute.
Ah,
Um,
please, El Salvador. No, they're good enough, but maybe one day.
so you said you started swimming at 10 or was it 13? Which
10 and then 13 is when I like started like on the team and everything.
yeah,
Um,
that's pretty late, no?
it
Do you
is very
think?
late compared to
Yeah.
my peers. I feel like a lot of them started when they were, I don't know, 4 or 5. When did you start swimming?
Yeah, I was probably competitively probably about six or seven.
Yeah.
And obviously started learning to swim when I was like 3, something like that. So was
Yeah.
never like scared of the water. So it was just one of those things to, um, there's not many pools in the UK compared to the US. So it was just getting lessons just to have something else different to do really. And for me, it was football and swimming. And
Yeah.
then swimming just took over, started to enjoy it, a lot.
And
But
you went to polo, yeah?
yeah, I went into water polo at similar to you, like 30, just turning 13. So I was late going into water polo, and that then was just my bread and butter. I loved it. I thought for me, it's a very similar, like a mix of the football aspect of it being a team game, including a ball,
Yeah.
but also still being able to swim. So yeah, I absolutely loved it. It was,
Yeah.
yeah, I couldn't get enough of it. But so you were swimming in. So how does it work in the US? Do you swim in clubs, or is it through school and like colleges that you swim for, or the actual clubs as well?
So in the US, up until high school, you swim for clubs. And in the US, they're just swimming clubs. So we don't have like a football club that owns all the other sports. It's just
Yeah,
swimming clubs. And then when you get out of high school, you go to universities and the university owns the swim team. And then that's how you do it. And then now post grad, it's kind of just chaos and it's like wherever you can find a pool and a coach that's willing. So some pros stay at the universities.
yeah,
Uh, and then for me, our little pro team is a bit um, different and something a little new. We're literally just pros and our coach just coaches us. So that's pretty unheard of in the US.
yeah. I
But
was
very
gonna say,
fun.
do you have to like fight for pool space, or have you got a good setup to?
No, it's a pretty good setup here, but typically, yeah, you do have to fight for pool space in other situations. Fortunately, all of us are adults, either in our late 20s or 30s, so we have a little bit more flexibility with our time and we can go at 8:15. We don't have school or things like that to fight
Nice.
through. So, yeah.
And you, how many sort of like days a week are you training at the moment? Is it like every day, or is it day on day off? Is it?
Yeah, so we're trying something new and it seems to be working pretty well. So we're all sprinters. None of us swims more than 100. I exclusively just swim the 50s. So we do Monday, Tuesday swim, Wednesday totally off, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. We just added our Fridays back in, but up until last week we were just swimming 4 times a week and then
Yeah.
lifting 3 times a week.
So
Um,
now you've got 5 sessions and 2 lifts, or
3 lifts. So
three
yeah,
lifts.
5 swims, 3 lifts. The swims are pretty short. They're like an hour and a half, and like we're maybe doing 1,500
Yeah.
meters a session. But the gyms, oh my gosh, they're like 2 hours long, and it's just like
Is
I'm
that
I hate lifting. Like truly, like I cannot stand being in the gym. I like cardio. I like moving fast, and I just like my brain to turn off. But the gym, like really, we're in there for a long ass time.
is that because you're having big rest periods between, or there's just a lot of volume to work through?
At the moment, the cycle that we're in, it's just a ton of volume, tons of exercises. We're working a lot on mobility. So like I would say almost half the session is just mobility. In different, just trying to figure it out in different ways. Sorry, the sunrise is coming up
I was
really.
going to say, yeah, shining on the face. um, so when you're in, okay, you guys call it college, I guess, don't you? What we call uni. Were you swimming? Is it NCAA's?
Yes. So I went to Arizona State University. It's a Division I school.
Yeah,
Um, and so if do you want to dive into my college career now?
yeah. Go. Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. We want to know everything.
Gosh, okay. Yeah, so my college career, I wasn't super highly recruited out of high school. So I going into college, your senior year of high school, you get 5 recruiting trips and you can visit 5 different universities. And I remember kind of like begging these universities, like, please just give me a shot. Like
Yeah,
I have potential. I know it. Like my underwaters are amazing. I just need to figure out the swimming part. Um, and so a lot of universities said no, and I was dead set on going to Division I. I was like, I will accept nothing less. If I have to go to school, this is the only way I'm going to school.
yeah,
Um, and so I ended up going to University of Connecticut, University of Wyoming, Arizona State, and University of Minnesota. And Minnesota was like my big one because it was a Big Ten's champion. They were like conference champions. I was like, this is a stretch school. So I went on my recruiting trips, and at Arizona State, I was like, I love this. Like, this is my place. I committed instantly, and then the coach was very unorganized, so it took her like 2 weeks to respond to my that commitment. And
yeah,
in that time, I panicked as an 18-year-old. And I was like, oh my God, like, what do I do? So I rescinded my commitment and I was like, I'm going to Minnesota sight unseen. And I remember my parents are very uninvolved in my life. They're just kind of hands off parents. They're like, go do what you want to do.
yeah,
So I'm making all these decisions as a child by myself. And I told them, yeah, I was like, yeah, I'm not going to Arizona. I'm going to Minnesota now. They're like, okay, whatever. All of these schools were no scholarship. I was basically just asking for a spot on the team and then paying for school myself
yeah,
through student loans and things like that. So they were like, yeah, sure. It's no skin off our back to come and have you swim. Like, it's not like we're paying for you. So I went to Minnesota my freshman year. Hated it. You would, which is crazy. You'd think a girl from California would love -25 weather. Yeah. But I ended up transferring back to Arizona State. And I actually had a great career there. I went from a walk on with no scholarship, and then by my senior year, I was team captain, and I had earned a full scholarship and qualifying for NCs. So that
that's
was
amazing.
still to this one of my biggest accomplishments in the sport. Um, so yeah, I was actually recruited as a 200 backstroker. That was my main event in high school, and then I just couldn't keep up with that kind of racing with the type of training we were doing in college. Because growing up, I was doing about 10K a day, and we were averaging about 100K a week. So, like, I think about running that, and I'm like, there's no way in hell I would run a 10K every day, twice a day, sometimes. But I just couldn't keep up with the fitness level I needed for the 200 back with the college training. We were doing like maybe 5K. And I was just like, I kind of got fat. I was depressed. And I was like, the 200 back is just not happening. So I switched over. When I went to Arizona State, the coach was like, well, we don't have a spot for you, but you can swim the 50 free in like exhibition heat. So I wasn't even scoring points. They were just like throwing me in meets just to like make me feel like I was doing something. Um, and I'm the type of person that's like very much, I want to chase. Like, I
Yeah,
don't like being the best. I want to chase you down. Um, so that kind of lit a fire under my butt. And I was like, I will be the best one here. And so I remember talking to the weight coach and being like, how much extra can I do without hurting my um progress in the pool? And then me and the weight coach came up with a plan by ourselves. I would come at like 5 in the morning and then do weight training with him without the team, um and I kind of just popped off that year. There was a spot, there was like 7 backstrokers and I was still trying to fit into this backstroke spot. Um and then we had 2 butterflyers and one of them had herniated her back that year. So we had one butterflyer and I was like, that spot's mine. I've never swam butterfly in my life. Like maybe just like because you have to in practice sometimes. I've never raced butterfly in my life, but my junior year, I was like, that's my spot. I'm taking it. So every practice when we did fast stuff, I was like, I'm swimming a butterfly. And my coaches were like, whatever. Like, honestly, like a lot of times my coaches are just like, just let Marina do what she's going to do because she's insane and she'll figure it out. So I did a ton of butterfly and I ended up taking the spot as the top butterflyer. And now it's one of my best events in the 50 fly. So it is one of my events that I'm hopefully shooting for in the LA Olympics.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially now that they've brought the 50s back into the Olympics and
Yeah.
something to aim for, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Just actually a little flashback then. I actually think that one of the things that I did see maybe on your Instagram years ago was your underwater. I think I was really impressed because that was something that I used to be good at, was underwater. And then I remember seeing your underwater and thinking, Jesus Christ, she's absolutely flying.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing that's still your strength now for your 50. And with it being such a short event, do you still try and go the full 15, or is it something that it's just a number of kicks that you do and that's wherever you come on?
I still go the full 15 because I'm much faster underwater than I am above water. I'm also quite short for a sprinter. I'm only 5'5".
Yeah.
5'6" on a good day. So I'm also racing these girls that are pushing 6 feet, and I feel like underwaters are kind of like the equalizer. And
Yeah.
tall swimmers tend to kind of ignore them. They're like, ah, it's fine. But I'll always win to the 15-meter mark.
Yeah. That's
Um,
what I'll never understand that, because if we look at, some of the best swimmers over the last 2 decades, I mean, look at the likes of Phelps and look at the likes of Lochte. Their underwaters are phenomenal. So it doesn't make any sense to me that no one wants to,
yeah,
figure this out and push more so on the underwater part, especially when, especially if it's a longer than a 50 meter and you've got more underwaters to utilize.
yeah.
It,
It has
it,
been fun seeing how the NCAA's changed. It's a different sport than when I was in the NCAA. Like I graduated in 2016. And so like watching it, it is people are taking advantage of those underwaters now. But yeah, for a while, like I remember like when my underwaters were like 15 meters off every single wall and like people would like lose their shit over it. They're like, oh my God, did you see that? And now it's fairly commonplace in short course. But long course, yeah, it's a different story. People don't use them because they're they swim. And
yeah.
I would say that I'm a good swimmer. Is it my strong suit? Probably not, but I'm working through it.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, and also as well, one thing that I've also never understood, and maybe you can explain to me why. Maybe there's a reason. Why does the college system in the US swim in yards and not meters? I,
we
what?
have to be special. Like
It's so, it baffles me. And just does that not affect you when you come to a meet that is in meters? Is it something that I'm guessing that
well,
obviously when you're at your level and you know you're going to world championships and things like this, a lot of the time when you're swimming, it's very much dependent on, stroke rate, how many strokes you do per length. So you can revert back to that. But
mm,
if you're training and doing a lot of stuff as you're growing up in the US in yards, how often do you get to train in meters as well?
you're talking short course meters, yeah?
Either. Yeah. Short course. Yeah. Because obviously,
Yeah, because we never train short course meters. But right now, we just switched to long course meters, like 50-meter Olympic size pool this last weekend.
Oh yeah, I
So
saw your story
we're
actually.
yeah, we're now in long course season, which is great for us. Um, so I think in terms of short course swimming though, because I was really concerned, I had never really raced a short course meters meet. So I went to my first World Cup back in 2023 and I was like, how am I going to do this? Um, as an underwater swimmer, I actually like it more because one, I have the advantage of knowing that I can have the hypoxic capacity to do 15 meters off every wall. But
Yeah,
then also the added bonus of swimming in short course meters, I get like one or two more strokes, so I could potentially breathe. But
yeah,
if I'm doing like 15 meters yards in butterfly, that's like 3 or 4 strokes for me. And then I turn again. So for meters, I do like it. And I thought it was quite an advantage for me because one, I think you can see the American or the US college athletes are way better at their turns because
yeah,
they do it all the
all the
time.
time.
They're training the short course yards. And then we get to big meets like world championships and things like that, where you're racing people from all over the world that just don't have the opportunity to train that many turns that often. So you do see a huge advantage for the people that train in the US with the underwaters and the turns. But it does take like a day or two to adjust to like, okay, it's one more stroke. It's one less kick or whatever it is. But I think at that level, you're so in tune with your body that it's not a horrible adjustment. But I mean, it would be nice if we train meters here, but we don't. So
Yeah, it always baffles me because especially I remember obviously CrossFit Games have had a couple of swims in.
yeah,
And the one year was the rinse and repeat workout where they would do like the skier calories and then the
yeah.
50. And obviously
I
in my
heard
head,
about
I'm thinking 50 meters, but it's not. It was 50 yards. So it's only like 45 meters. I was like, oh God, this is an easy workout. I'd crush this. But it just makes me, always made me question like, is this why the US are so good at swimming because they have the opportunity to train in these pools and do get to practice things more? Or is it something different? Is it the training that's different? Is it, the college setup that makes it different? Like, is it, is there just more opportunity as a whole growing up? But when you say to me that you started quite late, I mean, I just feel like it must be something to do with the college system for me if you
yeah.
started late. So,
Yeah,
um,
definitely. I mean, we do have more opportunities in that sense. It's like I can pursue an education and set myself up for a career after my sport while pursuing my sport at an elite level. Um, with all of the facilities and resources that I need to compete at a high level.
yeah,
And I think that's what the US does good. I mean, through their football and basketball setup, tons of money comes in. So we have amazing facilities at every single university. Some are better than others, but like, you're not going to get that kind of stuff at a club team.
yeah.
You're not going to
And
get that type of dedicated coaching with resources.
yeah.
So, yeah.
And the pools that you use at those college campuses, are the public allowed to use those at any point, or is it solely for the college to use?
I think it depends university to university. At Arizona State, we had like a time in the afternoon that was like an hour, 2 hours, and it
Yeah.
was open to, um, I don't know if it was open to the public or open to university. No one ever used it though, like ever. We had a master's team that came, and that was about it.
See, this is where I think that the US do it better because when I think of when I was in the UK, when I was playing water polo for Great Britain, we essentially would have the last pick of the pool
Mhm.
timings. So we're
Yeah,
training at Manchester Aquatic Centre in the heart of Manchester, and we would have to train at like 5:30 a.m. till 7:30 a.m. Sometimes in the smaller pool
yeah,
because the big 50-meter pool, that we could use and set up had two old ladies swimming granny breaststroke up
yeah,
and down the lane for an hour,
Yeah.
And they're like, no, the public gets access first. And like, then we've got a squad of like 20 odd players in a diving pit trying to play water polo. And we're just like, why can you not put them in the diving pit to go back and forth? And then we have the pool.
Yeah.
And it was literally, we would fight like that. So we would be training at 5:30 till 7:30 a.m. And then we wouldn't be able to get back in until like sort of 7, 8 p.m. at night, and then be training until 9, 10 p.m. at night as well. So not only would we not then get good sleep during the night because we're training early, training late, we then have to start sleeping during the day to recover, which isn't great for, you know, obviously a nap's always good, but it's not something you want to do all the time.
Yeah.
You want to be able to get yourself into a routine. And I feel that's where we always go wrong. It's a lot of the time the public gets way too much access. Maybe it's changed now. Because like I said, we're talking 15 plus years ago now since I've been playing, in terms of, is it 15? Well, I retired. No, sorry, tell a lie. 12. I retired in 2014.
Okay.
But you know, this is, you know, I was in the national team since 2004. So in those time frames, that's why we pursued contracts and going to play abroad in other countries at different clubs in their leagues, because they just wanted us to go out and get experience in playing other leagues. And also then it meant that we would train the way that those other countries would train, which definitely worked for me. But it just baffled me that you want sports to do well in the Olympics, but you're not giving them the opportunity to get better because you're not even giving them pool space.
Right.
So maybe that's why the US are so good, because you just have that setup where everything's tailored towards your needs. But
I do think that the US has a very sports driven economy. Like, if you you can look at all of the big nations, and like I always like use the example of like Italy, all their sponsors are high fashion because that's what they're known for. You look at the US, our sponsors are Nike, Adidas, things like that. And we have a very sports driven economy, which benefits the athletes in some sense. I mean, there's always pros and cons to everything, but it does make a huge difference, because that's how I think the US flexes their economy and their power, is like, look at our athletes. Look how good we can produce these, how well we can perform on an international level. So it is a huge flex for them.
So out of college, is that when you started doing CrossFit, or was?
So after college in 2016, I retired from swimming. I had a really rough senior year. And I was like, I'm not doing this anymore. I am unhappy. I was getting injured a lot. I had a lot of rib issues. I had this rib that kept popping out when I was swim butterfly. I was just like I was in constant pain. So I was like, you know what, I'm done. I had gotten my degree in English linguistics. I had a minor in psychology, and I had also gotten my teaching credentials. So I was like, okay, I'm going to go pursue my master's degree in Austria. And so I basically was just running. I didn't really settle with my swimming career. I was just like, fuck it, next thing. And that's kind of like one of my things that I'm working on is I'm like, okay, this didn't work. What's the next thing I can focus on? And I run. So I applied to a program in Austria for a linguistics program that was really good, and it was a joint degree, so I would get 2 degrees. I would get one in the US and one here, because they were like sister universities, or one in the US and one in Austria, so I'd get a double degree, and I could use it in Europe and in the US. So I moved to Austria on a whim, basically, and I started my master's degree pretty quickly after I retired. And I just remember being in class, and I was having these meetings with these professors, and like, what do you want to do your thesis on? Like, all this stuff. And I was like, why am I here? Like, I don't know. I didn't have the emotional maturity to like really settle myself and be like, this is why I want to pursue linguistics. And that is one of my great passions, is languages and how humans use language and how we communicate as a species and things like that. So I hope that one day in the future that I can finish this master's degree, but I did 1 semester there, and I was so lost, and I think I was really heartbroken with the end of my swimming career. that I was like, this isn't working for me. So I ended up coming back home and I got a job as an English teacher. And so I was an English teacher, a high school English teacher in downtown Phoenix. And I worked with low income and at risk youth. So a lot of my kids had been expelled multiple times from other schools. A lot of them had ankle monitors on, or they were kids from like the Dreamers Act. So they had come over. They didn't really speak English very well, from like Central America and things like that. So I kind of got thrown into this teaching situation where I was like, oh,
That's the
this
deep end. Yeah, no pun intended, but
truly, I was like, oh, this is real life. Like, this is not like, oh, let's go to some practice and like hang out with my friends. Like, this is what real people deal with. Like, I remember I had like no training. They just threw me into a classroom and they were like, all right, you have 4 hour blocks and or 2 hour blocks and you have 6 classes to teach. So I had these or sorry, I'm so sorry. I had 6 hours of teaching, 2 hour blocks. So I had 3 classes that were
yeah,
just 2 hours long of English. No one likes English class, first off. Like,
yeah, I can attest to that.
minus me, like I love it. I'll sit through a 3 hour grammar class because that's so fun for me. But I'm looking at these kids, I'm like, they don't give a fuck about this. They're telling me these stories. Their parents died in a border crossing. Like they're living with an aunt and uncle. Like they're work as soon as they get off school, they go straight to their shift and they work till midnight at McDonald's. And then they come and I'm like, and they're doing homework and stuff. And I was like, oh my God, okay, I gotta like really get my shit together for this. So I ended up like revamping like everything I was teaching. And it was like a huge emotional toll for me. I am a very empathetic person. So like every single day I was leaving the classroom and I was like, oh my, I can't even like I couldn't even deal with my own life. And
Yeah,
so that's kind of when I started CrossFit because I was like, I need some sort of like outlet that I can work through these really heavy emotions that I feel like I'm kind of taking on with the
yeah,
kids. So I started CrossFit in 2017, 17, 18. And I quickly fell in love with it. I really like being in pain, and I feel like CrossFit really brings that. So I was starting to get a lot stronger than I was in college pretty quickly. Um, and then I was like, well, I'm also losing my tan and I want to be a little bit tan. So I was like, I'll just join the Masters swim team around 2019. So I had been out of the water for 3 years at this point, and I had sworn I was like, I'll never swim again. Fuck this sport, never doing it. But a little tan here and there can't hurt.
yeah.
So I went to the Masters team and swam a couple practices with them. And the coach was also an ASU alumni. He was a little bit older, and he was like, "Why don't you just join the Masters team and compete with us?" And I was like, "No way in hell am I doing that. If I'm not competing at a top level, I don't want to do this. Like I'm just here for the vibes." And he was like, "Okay, whatever." And then he kept pushing and he kept pushing. And I was like, "Fine, I'll try one meet with you guys." And I ended up going like breaking some national record for the Masters and some 150 backstroke or something like that. I was like, "Oh, okay."
I've still got it.
I was like, "She's back." And then I ended up doing one more meet. I was like, "Okay, let's just see what happens long course." And then I was going faster than I was in college, and I was like, "Oh shit. Like, why don't I just try to get my Olympic trial cut?" So it was summer, so I was done teaching for the year, and I remember telling my parents, I called them and I was like, "I think I'm gonna quit my job." They were like, "Why?" I was like, "I think I'm gonna go pro in swimming." And they were like, "You're not good enough to do that. One, you don't even
Ooh,
have Olympic trial cuts. You were a walk-on in college, and what are you doing?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna do it." I remember calling a couple friends and being like that were Olympians. And I was like, "How did you know it was time to put all your eggs in one basket?" And they were like, "You don't, you just have to do it." And I was like, "All right, let me call someone else and confirm that." Um, so I got a couple opinions and all of them said pretty much the same thing. It's like, "Just do it. Like,
yeah,
you have to lose." And I was like, "You're right. A little bit of pride, like, who cares?" Like, why not try this? So I ended up quitting my job and just randomly calling some pro coaches and being like, I called Sergio Lopez from Virginia Tech and then Coley Stickles at Alabama. Coley didn't answer. Sergio did. And he was like, yeah, I don't care. Come over. And I was like, sure. So I was like, I'll be there in 3 weeks. So I packed up my entire apartment and put it in a U-Haul van and drove from Arizona to Virginia, sight unseen. And I was just like, I'll just figure it out when I get there. Joined a pro team. I had just made my second Olympic trial cut in the 100 freestyle. And I joined this pro team of everyone was an Olympian. And I was like, this
What
kid.
kind of what kind of names we're talking? Any?
We had Camille Chang from Hong Kong. It was a very mostly Asian team.
Yeah,
With Jasmine, from the Philippines, Zen from Singapore. I'm not saying her last name because I can't for the life of me can't pronounce it
yeah,
correctly. Um, we had Singapore, we had Indonesia, we had Farida Osman from Egypt, we had Joseph Schooling from Singapore as well. And I was just like, oh,
Oh, he's the guy that beat Phelps, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm like
Yeah,
way out of my depth. Like truly, I walked on the pool deck and I was like, oh, yeah, let's go. And like I said, I'm a chaser. So I was like, all right, if you're gonna be here, you're gonna chase these kids down. And pretty quickly, I made really big leaps and bounds on that team. And that kind of set me up for success later in my career. But I remember getting into like I love Farida. She's one of my closest friends, but getting into it with Farida. And like because like I started there was practices when I was starting to beat her and
yeah.
she would like get it into the coach and be like, did you get her time right? Why is she beating me? And I'm like, girl, I'm sitting right here. I work just as hard as you.
Yeah.
And so it was just like a funny, interesting dynamic to go into. And like, I think my naivete really took me really far because I was like, oh, why not just go for it? And
Yeah.
like, look at how fast I can go. Um, so it was a great season for me. Every time I raced, I was dropping time every single time. And to the point where the coaches like made a joke about it. They're like, oh, well, we're going to go to this meet. Marina will go best time. And, um, at this point I was still training and with the idea of swimming for the US. And, then COVID hit, trials was postponed. I moved to Florida because that was the only place they had open pools, and kind of started training by myself. Um, and really struggled for a while there. Went to trials, had an okay trials. That was the trials where they split it into two waves. So they had the slower um, swimmers in wave one, and then the faster ones in wave two. And unfortunately, I was the top seed in wave one. So like of the slower ones, I was the top seed in all my events. So I was like, fuck this. Like I made
So you're not chasing anymore. They're chasing you, as it were.
exactly. And
Yeah.
it was cool because I made finals in both my events, the 50 and the 100 free. But I was like, "Ugh, this isn't why I want to be here. I want to
Yeah.
chase. Um, so it was a good experience. But yeah, after that, I was like, okay, I think I'm gonna keep swimming a little bit. I was like, but if I'm swimming, I want to do fun meets. So I went to Mare Nostrum, and did that circuit the next summer, and just was kind of like had no goals. I was just like, I'm just swimming because I like it now, and I was still in the process of getting my Salvadoran passport, which took me 7 years. I think people like don't understand. Like, oh, she just switched countries. It took me 7 years to do this, and it was always the goal to swim for El Salvador. It just took me a long time. To
Why was it such a long time? Is it just so many checks and stuff, or was it?
Yeah, it's like I had to have the biggest thing that took me forever was I had to have an original birth certificate from my mom and my grandfather because my grandfather was born there, my mom was born in the US. And so my grandfather was born in 1924 or something. It was all handwritten. Like,
Oh no.
I spent hundreds of hours scrolling through handwritten birth certificates and just looking for his name. And it was like, after this, I'll send you a picture of it. It's literally like this big, and it's like in cursive, like old penmanship, cursive, and it's in old Spanish too. So it's like not that easy to understand.
Yeah.
And so I remember the guy I was dating at the time was like, "Why are you doing this?" Obviously, I'm also not paying attention to him because I'm scrolling through documents. And he's like getting annoyed at me for putting all this effort into this swimming. And I'm like, you don't get it. This is the dream. Like,
Was he a Hungarian guy?
yeah, it was the Hungarian guy.
Yeah, I thought I think I remember thinking, oh, what if he knows about water polo because he's Hungarian? Surely
Oh,
he
for
does.
sure. I'm sure he does. Yeah. No longer together. But yeah, I remember when I found the birth certificate, and it was just like the most, like, I was like, oh my God, this is it. I had spent like 4 years looking for this too.
Where are you looking, by the way? Is this like
I was,
old archives in
um,
a library, or is it?
no. It was, it's funny. It was like the Mormon church keeps insane records because apparently in the Mormon religion, you can convert your lineage backwards and it'll give you a, I'm going to misquote this, but it's something with, they keep extensive records of everything and they have documents from people all over the world. And so, yeah, the Mormon church, I was
No way.
just,
That's
it's
so random.
so weird. Um, I even went to Utah and went through the archives in person. Um, yeah, when I find something that I'm like really passionate about, I go all in. Like,
Clearly. So
it's crazy. But yeah, the Mormons, if you're ever looking for family, like lineage, they have insane records of everything.
interesting.
Yeah.
So you found it, and then what's the next step?
And then it was pretty quick. I just started getting the passport work done, and I got my passport in 2023, right before Central American and Caribbean Games. And I was like super excited to go, all this stuff. Had my flights and everything. It was in El Salvador too, so it was a big thing for our country because it was our
Yeah.
first time hosting it. We built new stadiums, all this stuff, new pools. Like, it was going to be this big event. And a week before I was going to go, our technical director messages me and he's like, "You can't come. Um, World Aquatics is investigating you." And I was like,
Oh wow.
"Excuse me?" Um, One of the coaches for El Salvador had reported me as a fake citizen, and like a not natural citizen. So I was not allowed to compete for El Salvador. And so I had to go through this whole process of proving my citizenship. I have a Salvadoran birth certificate. Like, I'm like, it doesn't get more
Yeah.
legit. Also, most of us live in the US because up until the 90s, there was a huge civil war in El Salvador. So all of our parents came to the US. It wasn't a place that anyone could really raise a
Yeah.
family. Um, Up until like 2016, it was the murder capital of the world. So it's like,
Jesus.
it wasn't a place that you could be and settle.
Yeah.
So everyone is in the US. And so that was a huge thing. I remember being really distraught over that and having to like speak to the World Aquatics lawyers and being like, prove my case, send all the documents. And they kept quoting like, "Oh, you have to be a natural citizen, natural citizen." I was like, "Define that for me, please." They're like,
Yeah.
"Oh, well, with a birth certificate." And I was like, "How many times have I sent you my freaking birth certificate?" And then the one guy was like, "Oh, yeah, you're good." But this time the games had already passed for Central American and Caribbean games. So I was not allowed to go or compete at all. Um, Big bummer.
Yeah. Did that
Uh,
affect Paris or not?
no, it did not.
No.
Paris is another can of
Yeah.
worms.
We'll get
Uh,
there. Don't worry.
yeah. But that was kind of the start of my journey with El Salvador. Like kind of just like fighting my way through the system as well, because I knew that joining as a American born was
Yeah.
gonna be tough, and I wasn't gonna be well received, and my Spanish isn't great. So I knew I was gonna be fighting a lot of battles, either in my face or behind the scenes. So that was a huge thing that I was dealing with in 2023, 2024 was I had coaches that were like huge fans of me and like, yes, you're, you know, helping bring up the sport and all this stuff. And then I had coaches and parents and things like that where were like, you're taking spots away from our kids. And I'm like, I get it. I truly
Yeah.
do. And you can look at me and be like, she's 30. Why is she still doing this? Like, let the kids have a shot. And I, I get it. I 100% get it. But I also have to look at it and be like, I'm also showing your kids that if you have a dream or like a goal, you should go for it and
Yeah.
keep.
Keep going.
So that was I received a lot of backlash, and I still do on my Instagram and TikTok. Anytime I speak Spanish, I get a lot of criticism. I get a lot of people being like, "Oh, she was just bought by the government," kind of thing, and that's super hurtful for me because I've had my own journey with my identity, my cultural identity as well, which has been really hard for me to like grapple with. So I'm like, oh, I don't belong here. I shouldn't be here kind of thing. Um, so it is interesting, but I do have a lot of support as well, which is very nice to see.
Yeah, absolutely. So um, now you're obviously continuing to swim. Um, you what was the story with Paris? Like, did you technically qualify for it, but you weren't allowed to go, or what was the
Yeah, so there are three ways to qualify for the Olympics. We have the big countries that qualify with A cuts.
yeah
Um, And then if they have like the US has too many people with A cuts. So then they do another standard on top of that, which is their trials, top two at their trials. So you have to
yeah
have A cut and be top two. And then the UK has their own trials as well, and Australia. So the big countries that send lots of people have that. Then you go and you have B cuts, which are smaller countries, they can send B cut swimmers. And then you have super small countries like El Salvador where no one gets any cuts because the cuts are just too high. So we
yeah
go on universality, which is a point system. And you get more points based on how close to the world record you are. Um, so the closer you are to the world record, the more points you receive. So for El Salvador, I have the highest points by far, miles.
yeah
Um, and so I was like, great, I'm going to the Olympics. Um, as the rules say, like I'm the highest point scorer. Sorry. And there's no contest. And so, and I had multiple events too that I was the highest. So it wasn't like just one and oh,
yeah
maybe someone else is coming. Like I had multiple events that I was the highest in. So I kind of had my pick of what I wanted to swim. And I remember being in Doha, world champs in February 2024.
yeah
And my teammate comes up to me and he's like, so you're going for the A cut at this meet? And I was like, that would be sick, but I'm not dropping a second in the 50 free. And he's like, well, you have to. And I was like, I don't, what? I was like, okay. And he's like, did you see the new rule that came out? And I was like, no, show me. And he's like, if you're over 30, you have to have the A cut. You can't go on universality anymore. So the new rule was you can go to 2 Olympics on a universality and or be under the age of 30. So I remember the first time reading it, and I have screenshots because it changed.
yeah
The first time I was reading it, it was 2 Olympics or be under 30. And I was like, well, this is my first Olympics, so good.
yeah
But then in February, it had changed to and or be under the age of 30. So I was like, there has to be a way around this rule. I'm really not buying it. But in my head, I was like, we need to change our whole approach because I need an A cut now.
yeah
Um, and so from that point on in Doha, I was like chasing this A cut, which was not the plan because in my head and in everyone's head, my coach's head, my family, I had already qualified for the Olympics. I was going. My dad had
Yeah.
already bought tickets. Like, it was a done deal. So I was like, quick pivot. How many international meets can I do to try to lock in this A cut time? So every single time I was racing, I was like, I need to drop time. I need to drop time. I need to drop time. I need to go faster. I need to go faster. And to the point where I was like driving myself insane.
Putting more pressure on yourself.
Yeah. And every meet had to be like a taper meet. And so the deadline to qualify is June 23rd. And there was one last meet, and it was in Rome. It's Setticoli. It's a really famous meet, beautiful pool. And my friend in 2016 had qualified for her Olympics at that pool. So I remember texting her and being like, is it worth it? Should I go to this meet? What was your experience here? And can I do this?
Yeah.
She was like, do it. Like, if anything, it is probably one of the most beautiful pools you'll ever swim in. And the atmosphere is magical, and you should go. Go to the Trevi Fountain before, make your wish, and then go race. And I was like, sure, sure. And like having half my family be Italian, I was like, this could be a good, like, maybe this is it.
Yeah.
Um, and at that point, I was like in a really weird point in my training. My coach had kind of already given up, and he was like, whatever, like, just
Just
go
go.
do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, and so I kind of had this like in the back of my head, I was like, my coach doesn't believe in me. I'm also asking my dad for money to go to Rome last minute. And is he's like, whatever, let's do it. Like, if this is the last chance, let's do it. He's like paying for me to go to this meet. I'm stressed because I have money on the line. I'm borrowing money from my dad. And I'm like, I have to do it, because if I don't do it, I've wasted money and time, and I'm letting my family down. So I
Yeah.
get to meet, and beautiful pool scene. And I swim my first event, the 100 free, and is like the most god awful race I've ever swum in my life. And I was just like, I remember getting out of the pool and I was like, oh my God. Like, it was so hard too. And I was like, okay, it's fine. You just have to swim the 50. And I kept telling myself, and my friends kept telling myself, they were like, you only have to do it once.
Yeah.
You just have to have a miracle once. And then you can swim like shit at the Olympics. Who cares?
Yeah. You've made it.
Yeah. I was like, that's
What
not
was
really
it?
what I want to do.
What was the time you needed?
24/7.
24/7. And
Yeah. And
what was your time
at that
at that?
point, I had only been a 25/6. And I was like, this has to be the most insane swim of my life.
Yeah.
I need to drop almost a second. And I remember before the 50, I was with my friends, Camille and Jasmine, and this was Jasmine's retirement race. So she's super emotional because she's like, this is the last
Yeah.
time I'll race. Camille's already qualified for the Olympics. So she's like, yeah, whatever. Like, let's do it. And then I am just freaking out behind the blocks. And I remember just being like, okay, like, whatever happens is going to happen. And I had this like crazy sense of like just calm come over me right behind the blocks. And I just had this realization. I was like, it's not going to happen today. And it's okay. So I raced the race, and it was the best I had raced that whole season. So I was like, okay, but it wasn't a
Yeah.
27. Um,
What was your time? Sorry, say again.
I think it was like a 25/8 or something. So it was like fine. Um, and there had been like a weird, like, it was a 10-lane pool. We're racing 8 lanes.
Yeah.
And most of the meet, they had been racing finals with 9 or 10 lanes because of weird things here and there. And so for the 50, I had finished 17th.
Yeah.
So I was like right out of finals, and I didn't get a second sim. And I remember my friends going, just go ask the judges and ask them to swim a 9th lane. And I just was like, no, no, I don't want to. Like, was like, I don't want to do this anymore. Like, like, my body was so done. And I was
Yeah.
just like under so much emotional stress. And I was like, it's over finally. I can finally be like, it's done. I don't have to do this anymore. Yeah, and then I just like kind of shut down and had like a little breakdown. I was like, I'm going back to the hotel room. And I cried for like 10 hours straight. And I have videos of me just like, because I was like, I need to remember this feeling. So I filmed it. And it's just like me like hyperventilating, snot running down my nose and just like tears and just like, it's not fair. It's not like, that's all I said to the camera. I was like, it's not fair. It's not fair. It's not fair. Um, and yeah, I went to some dark places though. And I remember scrolling through my phone and looking for someone to call. And I was like, no one, I can't call anyone. No one will understand this. Like no one wants to hear this. Like, who am I gonna call and be like, hey, my dream is dead. What do I do
I,
now?
I feel bad for you because like I wish you'd had my number because like I literally have had a very similar thing where I was cut at the last minute for the Olympics as well. So I know exactly exactly how you feel. It's a horrible feeling because you feel
Yep.
like all the work that you've put in has gone to waste. You feel like you've let people down. Like I remember walking into I remember like literally getting home and walking into my living room because we'd been given a couple of days off before the Olympic holding camp because obviously I still had to go
Yeah.
to the Olympic holding camp because if someone get injured, then I could be,
That's
subbed in.
miserable.
And I played so well at the Olympic holding camp as well, which is really annoying. I even had people coming up to me going, "Can't wait to see you play in the Olympics, mate." And I'm like,
No.
"I'm not Olympics." But anyway, we'd been given a couple of days off to go home and see family and basically, just sort of reset. And they'd not told us the team at that point. Um, and I was stuck in traffic on the motorway going home, and I remember my phone pinged, and it was an email, and they sent us an email and that told us the team, and not, like my name was right there in one of the reserve slots, and I just remember like throwing my phone across the
Yeah.
car, stuck
Yeah.
in traffic, and I got home and literally walked into the living room, and my dad was just like, he looked at me, I didn't say a word, and he went, "You've not been picked, have you?" And I
Ugh.
just remember like just breaking down. It was horrible because the amount of hours that your parents and stuff put into, taking you to swim meets and water polo games and traveling up and down the country and getting you to and from training when you were a kid, you just feel like such a letdown that you've
Yeah.
not made it to the goal that they were helping you get to. Like
Yeah.
the only saving grace for me was just that my parents knew how hard I trained. They knew how much I wanted it. Like I'd had a big, like fractured orbital eye socket, like 6 months prior that I'd got myself back from, back into fitness from that, had really good, swim results. And that's what it came down to for me. It was, I was told that I wasn't fast enough, but we'd done swim tests I think it was 2 weeks prior to the selection.
Yeah.
And I think that my 50 was one of the top two times.
Damn.
I think I went 23.9, 25 pool, not 50. Um, then I had like the top three fastest 100 that was like 54.9, and top 4 or 5 fastest 200 that was like a 1:59 or 2 minutes or something like that. And then I was told that, yeah, you're a small player, like you're a short player, you need to be faster. And I was just like, I literally have had these results. Like, what more do you want? But I knew that I'd done everything that I could. So that was where I knew that I could be proud of myself.
Yeah.
And my parents knew that as well.
Yeah.
And I mean, hopefully in terms of your case, at least you can look back and say, oh, well, I tried and I even went all the way to Rome to try and qualify. And obviously
Yeah.
now come back full circle. Now you're training for LA. Is there any difference in the qualification process again, or is it something you've got to aim for
Um,
again?
yeah, so I do have to have an A cut.
Yeah,
And I mean, I had made the goal for myself. I was like, when I first started this journey with El Salvador, I was like, if I'm going to the Olympics, I want to go I don't want to go as a tourist swimmer. And
yeah,
that's kind of like what you call people who just qualify and just like go
yeah,
party. I was like, I don't want to be one of these kids that just qualify because there's no one else. I want to be an A cut swimmer. And I kind of at Paris, I kind of just like took it, I don't want to say lazy, but I was like, well, it's okay because I qualified.
Yeah.
But looking back at it, I was like, that's not what I wanted. I don't want to be just this little tourist swimmer that no one takes seriously. I don't want people to look at the flag on my cap and be like, she's just here because like it's easy for her. I want people to be like, oh, she earned her spot here. So yes, I still have to have the A cut. I said I was gonna retire from swimming unless they brought back the 50s of stroke or added the 50s of stroke because they've never been here before.
Yeah.
I kind of said it as a jest. I was like, whatever, I'll come back if they add the 50s. They did. And my coach texted me and he was like, so we're doing this, right? I was like, yeah, we are.
Are you going for free and fly? Is that the two?
Free and fly. Yeah. Unfortunately, with the 50s of stroke, they didn't give us times to qualify with. We have to qualify at World Cups, and the World Cup next year will be our qualification. And it has to be, you have to get top 6 at the World Cup. So objectively harder to qualify for these 50s of stroke. Whatever. Like, sure.
It's what it is.
It is what it is. Let's do it then.
Nice.
So, yeah. I mean,
are you
I'm
feeling confident?
Yeah, I am.
Yeah.
I already told myself I was going to do it, so I'm going to do it.
And I'll keep all my fingers crossed for you for sure.
And your toes, please.
Yeah, no problem. Right, so I'm gonna flip it now, and I'm gonna ask the controversial question. What do you think of the enhanced games? And if they came a knocking and said, Jesus, we've seen you 50 times, we want to give you the opportunity, would you say yes?
No. Because I've been asked this question before. If they came and they were like, hey, $1 million, why not? One, I haven't achieved what I want to achieve in the sport naturally.
Yeah.
I have so much more that I want to achieve in this sport. And I want to know how much of my potential that I can unlock through me, not enhanced. I think I would always, if I went that route, I would always question it and be like, was I really good enough to do these things? Or was it just like the drugs and the doping and things like that? So for me, it's a no.
Is that a no now?
I think it's a no always.
And so if you went to the Olympics, it would be a no after the Olympics as well.
Yeah, and someone told me, they're like, oh, that's just ego. And I was like, yeah, it fucking is ego. I don't care. I have ego.
It's also your opinion of what, there's nothing wrong with it. But I'd like to ask the question because it has caused a bit of a stir and a bit of controversy within the swimming world. And
for sure.
I kind of get it. I get it, but I understand why people get angered by it as well. So I understand, and this is what I was actually, when Cameron Vandenberg was on, we discussed it, and we both sort of said the same thing. We understand it from a point of, I don't think that swimmers get the respect that they deserve for what they can do. And from that, they don't get paid the money that they should, or they don't get paid the winnings that they should for breaking world records, et cetera, et cetera. So I understand from a monetary point of view, being offered that much money towards the end of someone's career to take it, because then it's going to set them up for their family and set them up for, their futures. I get that, because it's not easy making money. It's also not easy to live in certain parts of the world. So, these opportunities come around. I get it. However, I also understand the moral implications of it in terms of, am I doing the right thing? And am I setting a good example to the younger generation? And I think this is where I feel there needs to be more explanation as to what they're doing and the reasons why, and how they are making it more safe for their athletes to do it, and that they're doing it in a controlled situation, as it were, as opposed to it just being, oh yeah, now they're on drugs and they're getting faster. There needs to be some kind of explanation there to explain to the youth, right, they're on it in a controlled scenario. They've got the top doctors doing this, and this. It's not that they're just doing it themselves. I feel there needs to be something there that separates that, as it were. But I do understand it from a monetary point of view of wanting to set yourself up for the future. If it was me, I'm massively against performance enhancing drugs in sport. Always have been, and having been drug tested myself, it's a fucking nerve-wracking experience getting it done, even when you know that you're natural, because you're just like, shit, what if that protein powder had something in? Shit, what if that creatine was, and it's a horrible thought until you know that your results are like, and I'm like, thank God, like I am safe, because I would hate to think of what my peers and what my teammates and what my family would have said if something like that would have happened. And I'm sure that you feel the same when you get drug tested as well.
Oh, it's super nerve-wracking. I always try to like make it as fun experience as possible for me and the tester, and I'm like, making jokes and stuff. But
it's a funny experience though.
It's so odd. But yeah, I mean, in terms of what I think about this program that they're doing, because I just kind of told you, I was like, no, it's not for me.
Yeah.
I do think it's a very interesting. I want to call it an experiment, because it's kind of a social experiment too. And I think I'm obviously very against performance enhancing drugs. It's unfair. People have access to them and better access to physicians and technology than other athletes, and it creates an unfair playing field.
Yeah.
And it really takes away from like sport, as like you started this as a child that loved the sport, and like that's not why we're here. Like, we're not here to see who has the most money, to see who can buy their wins and things like that. Anyways, but with the enhanced games, it's been really interesting to watch, and to kind of watch these world records, the 50 free world record go down. We broke it by 0.1.
Yeah.
With all the technology in the world, modern suits.
Yeah.
What, 10 years, 15 years later?
It is an interesting one, isn't it? Yeah.
And you're like, huh, interesting.
Be interesting to see if it gets broken by more.
Yeah. Now we know that it was broken doping by point whatever it was.
Yeah.
A 2009 record that fast? That's kind of crazy.
I think that
questioning the natural athletes more.
Yeah.
Natural athletes more. I don't know. It was just like things that I was thinking about. I was like, that's insane.
Yeah, it's food for thought. I get it. I think that the only way because this is what I also want to know is when people sign up, and especially in the swimming scenario, I can't speak on the running or the weightlifting or anything. With the swimming, I'm under the impression that they don't have to take drugs. They can solely swim based on the suits that they're allowed to wear.
Yeah.
Whether or not they're all doing that, I don't know. And that's what I would like to know, when they're all lined up and they're on the starting blocks and they're about to swim, which one's which and which one's taken what, if anything. That's what I would find interesting. Because James Magnussen, when he swam in that race, he was an absolute tank. He was huge. I was like, Jesus Christ, like, no wonder you didn't break it. Like, you're like a rhino going through the water. He was massive. He's lost a lot of weight now, for sure, because I've seen pictures of him. But yeah, I was just like, wow, he definitely juiced to the gills, for sure. But I mean, that was the famous words that he did say: "Pay me $1 million and I'll juice to the gills." But I'm definitely intrigued. I like the fact that it's a completely separate entity, and it's nothing to do with the Olympics or anything like that. That's obviously what makes it fair, I guess. So it's nice that it's not like they're one of those swimmers who gets to go to the Olympics and swim next to the normal athletes, as it were. And I think I definitely will watch, because I will just be intrigued to see whether any records go. But I always find it interesting talking to people about what their position is on it. And I know that when I was speaking to Cameron, he goes, I understand it from a monetary point of view as well. He goes, but morally for me, he goes, I just don't. His response was, do you think that they would have had the same answer and said yes to this when they were 21 years old and in their
Mm.
peak performance? Probably
Mm.
not, you know? So, yeah, I think it's going to be interesting, but I always like to hear what,
Yeah.
people's thought processes on it are, and
Yeah. I
whether
have
there's any, whether there's
watching.
been any, yeah, whether there's been any backlash, in the US from it. Because I saw that, was it Cody Miller? Is it the breaststroker?
Mm.
He
Yeah.
signed up for it, which I
Yeah.
thought was weird because I'm pretty sure he retired a long time ago as well. But
Yeah.
um,
I don't keep up with the breaststrokers, unfortunately, so I can't give you any details of that one.
I was a terrible breaststroker, so
I
but
always believe you're born a breaststroker or you're not.
well, being a water polo player, everyone's like, you should have been good at breaststroke. I was like, nah, it just didn't work for me. It just wasn't. But I always remember what was fun. What's funny is I'm actually older than Cameron, and I remember
Mm.
when we were talking, I was like, I'm actually older than you, but I still like watched you swim and looked up to you as if you're older than me. It's like such a
Yeah.
weird scenario. So, right, we're going to sort of like wrap it up a little bit now. I'm going to ask you a couple of little quick fire questions, and then I'll let you get on with your day, having woken you up so early. First things first. What's next for you, other than obviously trying to qualify for the Olympics? What's next for you in terms of competition? Is there anything coming up, or is it just solely now training throughout the rest of the year up until the World Cup?
Yeah, so this year we have some US meets the Pro Series. I'll go to Westmont in Chicago next week. So I'll race next week, and that'll be kind of like the first race of the season. I'm pretty I'm not gonna say I'm excited about that. I am pretty confident it'll go well though. And then
Are you tapered for it, or
no,
no?
just straight up. Um It'll be fine though. I feel like we've been doing some tests and practice, and I'm hitting a lot of the times I was going before World Champs last summer. So I was like, okay, we're in a good spot. Like, I'm not concerned about this. And then this summer I have Central American and Caribbean Games. So that's the one I got left out of in 2023. So
Yeah.
this was the first continental games for El Salvador. That's in Dominican Republic. And then in October, I have the World Cups that are in uh, there's like it's called the Silk Road, so it's like Uzbekistan
Okay.
and other ones.
Yeah.
Um, so there's 3 of them. I'll hit those stops in October. And then December, short course world champs in Beijing. And I'm excited about that one because it's at the 2008 Olympic pool, the water cube.
Oh,
Um,
nice.
yeah. So also outside of my swimming goals, like times, I have swimming pool bucket lists. And so the Beijing water cube is on the bucket list. So I'm excited to
Absolutely. A lot of records were broken there, that's for sure. So,
yeah.
amazing. Right. So, couple of little quick fire. Early morning or late evening swims?
Early morning,
Early morning. Short course or long course?
short course.
Short course. Goggles tight or just goggles comfortable?
Ugh, goggles tight for sure.
There we go. Right. Favorite set you've ever done?
Okay, the thing about me is once I'm out of the pool, no memories, gone. Um,
Okay.
I
Do you remember the hardest set you've ever done then?
I will remember that less because it hurt the most. But I'm sure there's some underwater sets that I've gotten close to passing out multiple times. So just I'm sorry that I can't provide this information for you, but it's
No,
true.
so listen, it's so good. If
I
that's the way that you deal with it, it's the way you deal with it. So,
I swim dumb,
um, one word to describe yourself as a swimmer or as an athlete.
persistent.
Love it. Like that. What's something about elite swimming that people don't see or understand?
Um, it's not very glamorous. I actually am couch surfing at the moment because I can't afford my own apartment. So I'm kind of relying on teammates.
Yeah.
Just like let me sleep. Tonight I'm sleeping on an air mattress in one of my teammates' living rooms. It's uncomfortable. I hate it. And I'm like, well, if you're gonna make these sacrifices, you better fucking do it then. Like
Yeah.
you better make the Olympics. So yeah, I mean, it's not that pretty,
Well,
honestly.
that comes back to not being paid enough and not getting the
Mm,
credit you deserve for things like world records and stuff. I would say as
sure.
well. Are
Yeah.
you looking for sponsors? Are you allowed to take sponsors or not?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And
Yeah.
is there any route that you're going down in terms of what sponsors you want, or is it you're just anything that comes?
Because I do have a large following of children and, like, kids that look up to me, I'm very picky about the companies that I support and that I want on my page and things like
Yeah,
that associated with my brand. Only things that I would use myself or, like, be happy to share with a young audience
yeah,
because I think we have so much more influence over kids than we realize, and I try to be super genuinely myself. I do cuss. I am pretty unfiltered, but I also wanna, like, present myself in a way that's, like, very genuine
yeah,
of who I am, and I don't want kids to ever feel like if they wanna come up to me, I'm fake, like, "Oh, she's just, like, gives you a fake smile and then sends you off your way." Like, I wanna be genuinely excited to see these kids and, like, interact with them, and
yeah,
that same thing goes with, like, the sponsors and things that I would be willing to take on is, like, are these things that I would allow my own kids to
yeah,
use? Things like that.
yeah. Completely understandable for sure. Um, what's the truth about high performance that people don't want to hear?
It's boring.
Yeah,
It's boring. It's a lot of repetition. It's like it's not exciting, like, fast-paced stuff all the time. It's eating the same food all the time and stretching at night and going to bed early and, getting your recovery and things like that. Like, it's not again, it's not glamorous. It's
yeah,
just consistently
yeah,
boring.
yeah. But it's also it is a lot of hard work as well, for sure.
Yeah.
Who is your idol? And that can be anyone. So, let's have two questions. Who's your swimming idol, and who's your idol?
My swimming idol? So, I think that's kind of tough for me because I grew up on a team where most of my teammates, even from a young age, were Olympians. So I just kind of was around these people that were at a high level. So I realized that they're truly just normal people.
Yeah,
They train the same way that I do. They have the same life as me. Um, I mean, I look at the people that I train with and I think they're very inspiring because all of us are on our second round of
yeah,
our career. Like, we've all retired and we're all coming back. So, like, Calvin Justice, I find very inspiring. He's, very fashion forward. He's a fashion designer. He has his own business, and then he's also pursuing the Olympics. Santi Grassi, he's an Argentine swimmer. He's on his second round, and he's had a full life outside of swimming. Santo Candarelli, Um, so, like, all these, like, people, I think, that choose swimming, not because it's convenient, but it's because they're chasing something,
yeah,
I think it's really exciting. Um, so swimming, I think I'm just inspired by my teammates. Outside of swimming, it's even harder.
You don't have to
Um,
answer if
yeah,
you don't have
I
one.
don't
It's
really
fine.
have yeah, I don't really have one. I have a very rich internal life,
Yeah,
and so I don't really fangirl over people that
yeah.
much, honestly.
I was never really like a fanboy of like celebrities or movie
Mm,
actors or anything like that. For me, it was always athletes. It was always sportsmen. The three that I remember like growing up was always there was multiple water polo players, but before the water polo players, there was a guy called Sir Steve Redgrave,
mm,
who's a British rower. He won gold at 5 consecutive Olympics.
wow,
Then there's Sir Chris Hoy, who's a British cyclist. He at one point was Britain's most successful Olympian. I think he has something like 6 Olympic gold medals. Just phenomenal athlete on the bike, like a sprinter.
yeah.
And now he's got a really amazing documentary out on BBC iPlayer. I don't know if you if you could search up, but he's got stage 4 cancer now. So he's like doing a lot of work for that. But it's crazy to see one of your idols in that position, as it were. And then the last one's always Phelps, just because I just thought Phelps was just amazing to watch. Like, he's underwaters. His persistence as well of coming back, and that race that he had with Cavic with the 100 fly, that one was just insane to watch.
Yeah.
So for me, it's always been sporting athletes that I've always looked up to. But
yeah.
Right, last question for you.
Okay, let's do it.
If there's one piece of advice that you could go back and give your younger self, what would that piece of advice be?
And
you can broaden it out to advice you would give other young kids as well.
Yeah. I actually have a project that I'm working on where I meet people and I ask them to write down what the best piece of advice they've ever received. So I have a book of it, which I've written down. But the best piece of advice that I received and I think would have helped me as a young kid was, people will not remember the times or the medals, but they'll remember how you made them feel. And I think I still put a lot of pressure on performance, but now I go to these meets, and in the past I would be like, I have to focus. Like, I can't talk to anyone else. Like, if the kids are talking to me, I can't. But now I'm like, oh, this is like I remember being a kid and meeting like Kate Ziegler because I wanted to be a distance swimmer as a child for some weird reason. And being like enamored by meeting this Olympian and like her kind of brushing it off. And for me, that was a huge moment. So I look at these kids and I'm like, oh, this is a big moment for them. Regardless if I think I'm worthy of their time and attention, that's besides the point. The point is they see a swimmer that's a female that's super cool and they just want to like interact with her. And so I try to like, put it in perspective of that. Like, I want people to talk about me after my career ends as like a positive person in their life.
A good person.
Yeah. And that's so much more important. Yeah. I want the times. I want the medals. I want to go to the Olympics, but that's not that important in the grand scheme of things. So.
Love it. Good answer.
Thank you.
Hopefully when I'll clip a little bit of this, and that'll be one of the things that I clip. So, no, honestly, that was an amazing chat. I honestly appreciate you giving me your time, especially with it being early morning. Glad we sorted it out, and obviously amazing to speak to you as well. And I just want to wish you the best of luck in everything for the future. Keep me updated. I'm sure I'll see it on Instagram as well. And all the best for the future, and hopefully see you at LA 2028.
Fingers are crossed, and your toes, right?
That's the one.
Thank you so much. I had a great time.
No worries.
Well, that's it for this week. Another athlete and another country ticked off the list. El Salvador is certainly a unique one for sure. I would definitely have my fingers and toes crossed and can only wish Marina the best of luck with her Olympic dreams. I really hope it comes true, and I'll be watching every step of the way. Thanks again for joining us, and if you guys at home haven't already, this is a friendly reminder to like and subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you in the next one.